I was staring at the property photos on my laptop, just starting to freak out. It was 2013 and I was completely green in real estate, and I just listed my sister's boss's property, but I had no idea how to write the ad copy to actually sell it. All I knew was I didn't want to be that person that overpromises and underdelivers. Thankfully, we had a really cool little tight-knit team, and I managed to rope them all in to help. It was an open plan office and we had 4 corner desks all facing in towards one another that had those mid-height dividers. So every time somebody had an idea, they had to pop up like a meerkat and be like, what about this? And then one of the other experienced agents pulled out an old school training document that had the cheesiest headlines. Between that and a bottle of wine, we managed to get the creative juices flowing. But still really, on the inside, I was freaking out in an anxious mess. On top of that, it was a blue house, and I'd been told that blue houses are notoriously hard to sell. And it took me forever to actually come up with a cohesive piece of copy that I was happy for the sellers to read, and of course put out in public. You couldn't imagine my relief when the sellers came back to me to say how much they loved it, and it made them feel like they wanted to stay. So my initial challenge was obviously my amateur skill set and my self-confidence. I never thought I was any good at creative writing in school, and now it dawned on me that this was a huge part of my job. But what really kept me up at night was thinking that I was representing people's biggest assets, and, you know, was I doing it justice? So I knew I needed to learn more about writing ad copy. And this was just one of the many skills that I set out to master. But the ongoing challenge for me was an internal conflict that should I take the time to do things super well and get them how I wanted, or should I just be smashing this stuff out super quickly? You know, which other agents seem to be doing, and I wondered if I was just always overthinking it. I was determined to stand in what I believe. I'd experienced mediocre agents as a buyer, and I was pretty unimpressed. I never felt like they were genuine or trustworthy. So my mission became providing a service that met my expectations. A service that I could feel proud of and that any buyer and seller would be over the moon with. Being a real estate agent did come with a bit of stigma, more so back then. But I knew I wanted to contribute positively to the industry's reputation, making it less about dodgy sales and more about expertise with a 10 out of 10 care factor. After about 12 years of working in high-performing coastal teams, managing operations and constantly streamlining and polishing, I took a break to study for my level 5 branch manager certificate. I got in the habit of walking every day, and this particular morning, before I sat down at my laptop, something just clicked. I kept hearing stories of talented salespeople that were struggling, not because they lacked ability, but because there were gaps in their foundations. That's when I realised I could have way more impact on the industry by helping others in the early days of their career. I could share my learnings and experiences, all the systems, processes, templates I've made, the unwritten rules in my head, teach them all the things that you often have to learn the hard way. And it means I could inspire others to extend that positive influence and guide their path through operational leadership and dedicated support right from the get-go. While I was studying, I was working on this assessment about performance management. You had to reflect on your own experiences as a case study, and of course I went down a bit of a rabbit hole. analysing all the salespeople and businesses that I'd worked with over the years, and considered their training, the environment, their support systems, some of the decisions they'd made along the way, and then of course how those factors showed up in their results. And I could see that every team that I had supported achieved personal bests in that time, and regularly topped the leaderboards. We would, drill down on our strengths, define our roles. We cared about the details. We critiqued ourselves. We constantly improved structure and our presentation just to be the best that we could be. I'm also so grateful that I had really supportive beginnings that set me on this path. But I know so many agents don't get that, and it's frustrating to see substandard training and a lack of support out there. Real estate is a bloody roller coaster, and it can be incredibly lonely. There really are times when you need that external support and more direction to bring out your best. The takeaway from all of this is that putting in the time and money to strengthen your infrastructure and consistently operate with a 10 out of 10 care factor in everything that you do is simply the most effective way to be at the top of the leaderboard. When you get the foundations right, everything else simply becomes easier. This is where long-term success and career fulfillment begin. I've seen it over and over again. The agents who ask for help, take control of their future, and are brave enough to invest in themselves are the ones who dominate the market.